In this tutorial, we're going to explore machine configuration, where we can manage the machines that we add to our software and have post-processors associated to them. So if you are a brand new user, when you installed the software, you would have been given the opportunity to run through the Kickstarter wizard, and this guides you through the process of getting your software configured for use. If you're an existing user who has upgraded to version 11, you would have been prompted to configure your machine after choosing to migrate your previous version over. As part of that startup, in both scenarios, you have the opportunity to search for your machine configurations online, and if available, you'll be set up with the machine's associated post-processors, along with a set of default feeds and speeds appropriate for that configuration within your tool database to help you get up and running in no time. So we're going to head over to the machine drop down over here, and then we're going to select machine configuration, and this is going to open up the machine configuration management dialog. Now with that open, I'm currently presented with a drop down bar, and here I already have two machines configured to use with the software. We've got desktop and we've got large. And these are the default machines that are shipped with the software, and they're the same ones that we see in our tool database. So let's just go to desktop here. So here we can take a look at all of the configurations for this desktop machine. We're able to see the name of the machine, the manufacturer name, the model name or number, the controller that this machine uses, and the width and the height of this machine. And so the bottom portion of this dialog shows us the associated post-processors for this particular machine, and we can see for desktop currently have 4 post processors that we can use here. We've got G-code inches, G-code metric, G-code arcs inches, and G-code arcs metric. If we switch over to the large machine, you'll notice that the name and the model is different here, along with the width and height. And we just so happen to have the same set of post processors associated for this large machine as we did for the desktop. So let's take a look at how we can add in a brand new machine from scratch. Let's say we had a custom built machine. We can look at adding that in. So to do that, we're going to come over to this plus icon here, where we're able to add a custom machine to the database, and then we can activate it. So if we press the plus icon here, you'll see that the name is currently defaulted to new machine. And then we can give that a name. So for instance, we could say we wanted to call that one shop machine. We could enter a manufacturer in here. And this is just a case of just entering the names in the field using your keyboard. So here we could just say custom, because it's a custom made machine that we've made. Model, let's just say we go with model number 1. And then for the controller, so my custom built machine uses a G-code controller, so I'm going to type G-code in there. And then for the width here, we're going to go with 12 and a height of 24, and we're going to make that inches like so. So now that all of the settings are in for my machine, all of the configurations, I now need to look at associating post processors for this particular machine. You can see currently we have no post processors selected. And so the post processor is what converts the XYZ coordinates for the tool moves into a format that is suitable for a particular machine control. Now, if we was to go ahead and press OK without selecting a post processor, then we'd be presented with this message here. So we have a message that says no associated post processors. The active machine does not have any associated post processors. And so the whole point of adding in post processors to your machine is it allows you to default to the last used post processor per machine. It allows you to better organize your posts, and it gives you more control over the version of the post processor that you use. And so it asks you, do you want to do this now or do you want to do that later? And if you did that later, then the software will just fall back onto listing all of the post processors from the database for you to search and choose. But we don't want to do that. We want to actually associate a post to just take advantage of the fact that we can organize our posts and have control over the version of the posts that we use. So let's do that now by using the now option here. So I have a G-code controller, so I need to find a G-code post or several G-code posts. To do this, I can press this plus icon here, and that will enable me to select post processor to be associated with this machine. And so if we click on that, that's going to open up the post processor management dialog, where we're able to select a post processor from the local post processor database. Now, if you wanted, you can download the latest post processor database using this icon here, and that will download the latest post processors. I'm happy just to continue with what we have here. So I need to search for G-code, and I can use the bar here to scroll through this very extensive list of post processors, or I could start typing in the name of the post. So I need G-code, so I'm going to press G on the keyboard, and that's going to take me to all of the posts that begin with the letter G. And so you can see straight away I'm presented with G-code inch.tat file. And so what I can do is I can then take that one, and then I can simply go ahead and press select. And so now that G-code inch post processor is now added to my associated post processors list, which is associated with my shop machine. Over to the right, you can see that the version we're currently using is the latest. So you'll see latest, brackets, V1, close brackets. If I click on that, you'll see I'm now presented with a drop-down menu, and if I click on that arrow, we can take a look at past versions of this post, and you can revert to those if you wanted to. So we have latest V1 and V1. So we only actually have one version of this post processor, and by choosing the latest version number of the post, that will ensure that if there are any updates in the future for this post, the software will use the latest post that's available at the time. If you choose to select a particular version, for example just version 1, so not the latest, then when more recent versions are available, the latest versions won't be used automatically, where you'll be presented with a warning sign to indicate that it's not the latest post. In our example, I'm going to set that to latest, so I'm always using the most up-to-date post. If we wanted to remove an associated post processor, you can simply select it and then use this trash can icon to remove the association between this post and our machine. Let's say I wanted to add in an additional post and I wanted a metric version of the G-code post. We can simply use the plus icon here, and that will open up the post processor management list. And again, let's just go ahead and we'll just search for G. So press G there, and if we just bring that over like so. Whilst we're in this list, let's take a look at some further options that we do have here. So you'll notice on the right hand side we have this edit icon here. And so if I click on that, you'll see that we're presented with 3 different options to choose from. Another way of accessing these options here is just to directly right click on the actual post itself. And here you can see we have changelog, customize and view. So if we use the view option here, that's going to enable us to actually view the post and all of its information there. So you can read that. We can close out. We right click again, you have the option to view the changelog, and if we click on that, this will just tell us any changes that have been made to this post processor and what they were. And so this is just really good in that it can give you reassurance that you can take a look at that before selecting it. And then we can close out. And then if we right click, we also have the option here to customize the post. And if we click on that, you'll see that it's created another post here. We've got a pen there. And so this pen here is indicating to me that we are using a custom post. So we will not overwrite the original post. You can still see that is still listed there, but what it does is it enables us to create a custom post based on this. And so here we can then right click on that and we can open up the file location, which we can see here, and then we can right click and we can go ahead and open that up in a notepad where you can then go ahead and make the changes to the actual post itself. And so it's worth noting that your My Post P folder that's located in the application data folder is now reserved for these custom posts. And so that handy pen graphic just helps us to identify our custom posts. Now, if you wanted to delete a custom post, we can right click and use the option here to delete it all from within our post processor management. Okay, so it's telling us that this is an undoable operation. Are you sure we want to delete this custom post processor? Now, I actually haven't edited that, so I'd press yes. If you have edited a post, you want to be very careful as to whether you want to delete that or not. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and press yes. Now, if you want to learn more about post processors, then I recommend that you head over to the post processor section of the help contents documentation. At the bottom of the post processor management, we have this option here to install post processors to custom post processor directory. For example, if you'd written one yourself or were given one from a manufacturer which is not in our default Vectric post processor database, this is where you can install a post processor into the custom post P directory and make usable within the software. Okay then, so let's just go back to find our metric post. So we're going to type in G to bring up the G code, and we're going to use the metric option, and then we can use select, and you'll see now that that's been added, or it's now associated with our shop machine that we've got here. Now, if we take a look at the right click menu, so if we take one of these posts and use the right click button on our mouse, you'll see that we've got various options here. So we've got make default, we've got make default for laser, view, changelog and remove. So again, view enables us to view that actual post there. Then the changelog, again, we can see any changes that have been made to this post processor. So it's also worth pointing out here that when you view the post here in this dialog, you are viewing that version of the post processor. For example, if you have an older version post that you've got here, then this is the post you will be viewing here. However, if you were using the view option through the post processor management dialog that we saw earlier, you will always be displayed the latest. You'll see we have the option here to make default. So this option is for when you want to set this particular post processor as the default to choose from when you come to save out your toolpath. So let's say I use this one more than anything. I'd use this option here to make this my default post. You can see it's now in bold, and that's telling us that that is the default post for this particular machine. And so when we go over to save our toolpath, this one will automatically be entered into the post processor field. However, we still do have the drop down menu to take a look at the other associated post processors that we do have for this particular machine. And if we right click, you can see, for example, if you had a laser, you could also use the option here to make a particular post default for the laser option. And then obviously you can use the remove option here, which is the equivalent of using the trash can, where it will just remove that from the associated post processors for our new machine. And so once you're happy with your configuration and the associated post processors that you've got for this machine, you can go ahead and press apply, and that will save those changes. And you can see now my new machine has changed to the name that I've given it here, which is the shop machine. If I use the drop down menu, I can switch between the different machines like so. And so we could go ahead and just press OK there. And so now if I go over to my tool database, you can see that my shop machine is listed here, and then I can start assigning some tools that I can copy over from a different machine and material to assign to my shop machine. We can cancel out there, and then if we go to the Save Toolpath option, you'll see my shop machine is listed here, and the default post processor is listed here, so G-code inches. However, like I mentioned, if I use the drop down list, you'll see I'm also able to access the other post processors that I associated with that machine. So now let's go back into the machine configuration dialog. And now we're going to look at an instance where perhaps we downloaded a machine package from our V&Co account and we wanted to install that onto our workshop machine that doesn't have internet access. So we're going to use this icon here, so install an offline machine package. We can click on that and we can locate the file that we downloaded. So here I have the generic desktop machine, and that is the Vectric installable package file. And then here we could go ahead and press open. And it tells us that we're about to install a machine configuration for desktop 12 by 24. Would you like to continue? So here we're going to go ahead and press yes. Okay, so you can see how quickly the software input all of that information. So we now have the machine name, desktop 12 by 24 default. You can see that there. The manufacturer is generic. It's a desktop 12 by 24 with a G-code controller, and it's 12 by 24 inches. And we have 4 different post processors associated to this particular machine. And then we can simply go ahead and press OK. And then if I go to my Save Toolpath, for example, you can see that that is populated in our machine list here. So let's just close out there. And then if we go into the tool database, you'll see that my machine is listed here. And you'll also notice as well, which is super handy, and that is that we have tools and we also have different feeds and speeds associated with this particular machine that we've installed, which is really useful as it helps us just get on our way with the settings that we currently have in our tool database. So let's just cancel out there. So now let's take a look at an instance where you have a machine. We could look at downloading the configurations for your particular machine using the search online option. So let's go back into machine configuration, and we're going to use this option here, search online for your machine. And if we click on that, the software is going to look at downloading the current list of machines that we have, and it says you're about to install a new post processor database. Would you like to continue? So we're going to go ahead and press yes while the software installs that for us. And it says it successfully installed the post processor database. We can go ahead and press OK, in which case we're now presented with another dialog where we're able to search for our machine, where we can then download it and add it to our machine database. So here we have manufacturer, and if we click on that, you'll see that we'll be presented with various different manufacturers. And so for demonstration purposes, let's just go with the generic machine here. And here we can specify the series name or number. In this case, we're going to go with the large series, and then the model number. I'm going to go with the 48 by 96 here, and then we have the option to specify the configurations. So here you have the default. So default is your standard XYZ configuration, so you're going to always want to check that option there. If you have various other configurations on your machine, for example if you had rotary, you'd also need to configure that as well. So we'd check that option so that we're downloading or installing both configurations there. So we're going to do that. So we're going to look at having the default and the rotary version, and then we can simply go ahead and press download, where it's going to download those packages for us. And it says we're about to install a machine configuration for large 48 by 96. That is the machine that I requested to download. So I'm just going to go ahead and press yes there. And it says I've successfully installed 2 machine configurations. That's one, the default XYZ standard 3-axis, and then the rotary configuration as well. So we'll go ahead and press OK. And so we can see that's now included that. So again, we're seeing the name and all of these fields automatically entered in from the information that the software has provided us. We've got the associated post processors, so I don't need to go and search for those as they've already been associated with this particular machine. If you use the drop down menu here, you'll see we've got the rotary configuration here. And again, we can see we've got an associated post processor for the actual rotary. So let's just go back to the large default here, and then we could go ahead and then press OK. And so if we go into our tool database, we've got the large 48 by 96. And again, very handy here, you can see that we have a database that's populated with various feeds and speeds for each material for your machine. And so by searching online and downloading a machine configuration helps save time and setting up your tool database, as this is all done for you on a per machine basis, helping you get started with some sensible feeds and speeds for your machine. So here we could just go ahead and press cancel. Another way to access some of those settings that we saw there is by going to machine and taking a look at the various options we have here. So we've been using the machine configuration option here. If you wanted to directly start by adding in a custom machine, you can do that here. And if I open that up, you'll see it started to add in that new machine there for us. And you can carry on entering all the different configurations and then associate some post processors for this machine. In this case, I'm going to remove that. I don't want that there. So we'll just exit out there. And it's asking us if we want to save our changes. Yes, I would like to save those changes. If you go to machine, you can see we can install an offline package. That's where I showed you how we could install a package that we could have installed from our V&Co account. We could look at searching online for our machine. So again, that will go through that setup. Here we have access, direct access to our post processor management. And so if you click on that, it'll open up our post processor management. So here we could take a look and read some of those posts, or perhaps we could alter them into a custom post, and we can close out. We also have the option to install a post processor. So here we could go ahead and install one. That's the custom post that I showed you earlier. And then finally, we've got the option here to update our post processor database should you need to. And so you can click on that and that will update the post processor database to have all of the latest posts available. And so that completes this machine configuration tutorial guide. Thank you for watching.